My pregnancy at 8 months was the kind where every movement felt like a negotiation with gravity. My belly led the way into every room, a round, taut planet that had become the center of my universe. At 34 weeks, I waddled more than walked, but I still felt a stubborn spark of independence. I refused to let anyone treat me like fragile glass, even though my ankles swelled like rising dough and my lower back ached with a constant dull throb. That Saturday morning in early December started like any other in our quiet suburban neighborhood. Snow dusted the lawns, Christmas lights twinkled from rooftops, and the air smelled crisp and clean when I stepped outside. My husband Ethan and my younger sister Chloe had surprised me the night before by insisting they would drive me to my routine prenatal checkup and then to run a few errands afterward. Team effort, Ethan had said with that easy grin I'd fallen in love with 10 years earlier. Chloe, visiting from out of town for the holidays, chimed in with her usual bubbly enthusiasm. "I haven't seen you properly in forever, Em. Let me pamper my big sister and my future niece." I should have noticed the way their excitement felt a little too synchronized, but I was tired, grateful, and honestly touched. Ethan and I had been together since college. We'd built a comfortable life, the house with the blue shutters, the golden retriever named Max, the savings account steadily growing for our daughter's college fund. Chloe, 5 years younger, had always been the wilder one, moving from city to city, job to job, relationship to relationship. But she adored Ethan almost as much as I did. She called him the brother I never had. I thought it was sweet. We piled into Ethan's black SUV that morning. I took the front passenger seat because climbing into the back felt impossible at this stage. Chloe slid into the back directly behind Ethan, humming along to the Christmas playlist he'd queued up. "All I Want for Christmas Is You" filled the car, and I rubbed my belly absent-mindedly as our baby kicked in rhythm. The obstetrician's office was only 15 minutes away. Ethan parked near the entrance, walked me to the door, kissed my forehead and said, "Chloe and I will grab coffee while we wait. Text us when you're done, okay?" I nodded, already mentally running through my checklist. The appointment was supposed to be quick. Blood pressure check, measure the fundal height, listen to the heartbeat, and confirm everything was on track for my planned induction in 4 weeks. Inside, the waiting room smelled of pine-scented cleaner and hot chocolate from the complimentary station. I checked in, sat down, and flipped through a parenting magazine without really reading it. 10 minutes later, the nurse called my name. Everything went smoothly. Blood pressure perfect. Baby's heartbeat strong and steady. The doctor smiled and said, "You're doing great, Emily. See you in 2 weeks unless anything changes." I was in and out in under 15 minutes. Record time. As I walked back toward the exit, I reached for my purse to text Ethan and realized I'd left it in the car. My phone, wallet, keys, everything. A small wave of annoyance washed over me. I'd have to go back to the parking lot myself. The cold air hit my cheeks as I stepped outside. Our SUV was parked 2 rows over, facing away from the building. I could see the outline of Ethan in the driver's seat and Chloe behind him. They hadn't left for coffee after all. I smiled to myself, probably arguing over which playlist to switch to next. Typical. I waddled across the frosty asphalt, my breath puffing in little clouds. As I got closer, something about the stillness inside the car struck me as odd. No movement, no heads turning to talk. Just quiet. When I was about 10 feet away, close enough to see through the lightly tinted windows, my steps slowed. Chloe was leaning forward from the back seat, her body angled toward Ethan. Her right hand was stretched over the center console. Her fingers threaded gently through his dark hair. She was stroking it, slow, deliberate passes from his temple to the nape of his neck, the way you touch someone you've touched 1,000 times before. Intimate, loving. Ethan's head was tilted back slightly against the headrest, eyes half closed in obvious pleasure. His left arm was extended behind him, reaching into the back seat. His hand rested on Chloe's head, mirroring her exactly. His fingers combing slowly through her long auburn waves. They weren't talking. They weren't laughing. They were just touching, softly, reverently, like lovers stealing a private moment they thought no one would ever see. My heart stopped. Then it slammed against my ribs so hard I felt it in my throat. I stood there frozen in the middle of the parking lot, one hand cradling my belly as if to shield the baby from what I was seeing. The world narrowed to that single image. My husband and my sister stroking each other's hair in our family car, while I, the 8 months pregnant wife, was inside trusting them both completely. Everything changed in that instant. I don't know how long I stood there. Seconds? A minute? Long enough for the cold to seep through my coat and numb my fingertips? Long enough for the scene inside the car to continue uninterrupted. Chloe's fingers tracing lazy circles at Ethan's hairline, his thumb brushing along her scalp in response. My mind raced through 1,000 explanations, desperately searching for one that didn't destroy everything I believed about my life. Maybe it was innocent. Maybe Chloe was just fixing a stray hair. Maybe Ethan had a headache and she was massaging his temples platonically. But even as the thoughts formed, I knew they were lies I was trying to feed myself. The tenderness in their touch wasn't sibling-like. It wasn't friendly. It was the kind of caress reserved for lovers. I forced my legs to move. 1 step, 2, until I was beside the driver's door. I didn't knock. I didn't call out. I simply reached for the handle and pulled it open. The sudden rush of cold air made them both jolt. Ethan's hand dropped from Chloe's hair like he'd been burned. Chloe yanked her arm back so fast she bumped the rear door panel. They turned toward me in perfect, guilty unison. For a moment, no one spoke. Ethan's face drained of color. Emily, you're done already?" I stared at him, at her. My voice, when it finally came, sounded foreign, calm, flat, deadly quiet. "I forgot my bag." Chloe's eyes were wide, panicked. "Oh my God, Em, it's not—" "Don't," I cut her off. The single word sliced through the air, sharper than I intended. I reached across Ethan's lap, careful not to brush against him, and grabbed my purse from the passenger footwell. My movements were deliberate, mechanical. I didn't look at either of them again until I had the bag strapped across my body. Ethan started the engine. Let's go home. We can talk." "No," I said. "Drive me to the pharmacy like we planned. I still need to pick up my prenatal vitamins." He opened his mouth, closed it, then nodded mutely. Chloe sat rigid in the back, hands clasped tightly in her lap as if to keep them from trembling. The 15-minute drive to the pharmacy was silent except for the low hum of the heater and the occasional swipe of the windshield wipers against light flurries. I stared straight ahead, one hand on my belly, feeling my daughter shift and kick as if sensing my distress. I thought about every moment of the past year. Chloe's extended visit that started in September. The girls' nights she and I supposedly had while Ethan worked late. The way she'd started dressing differently around the house. Tighter tops, more makeup. The inside jokes she and Ethan shared that I'd laughed along with, never questioning. The nights he'd come to bed later than usual, claiming he'd been helping Chloe with her resume or listening to her vent about her latest breakup. How could I have been so blind? We pulled into the pharmacy lot. Ethan parked near the entrance. "Do you want me to come in with you?" he asked softly. "No. Stay here, both of you." I climbed out slowly, my body heavier than ever. Inside the store, I moved through the aisles like a ghost. I picked up the vitamins, added a bottle of antacids, a box of tissues, anything to prolong the inevitable return to the car. At the checkout, the cashier smiled and said, "When are you due, sweetie?" 4 weeks, I answered automatically. "Boy or girl?" "Girl," she beamed. "Congratulations. You must be so excited." I forced a smile and paid. Back in the car, the silence continued all the way home. When Ethan pulled into our driveway, I spoke for the first time since the pharmacy. "Chloe, pack your things. I'll book you a flight home for tomorrow." Her sharp intake of breath was audible. "Emily, please." "I said pack." Ethan killed the engine. "Em, we need to talk about this." I turned to him slowly. "Do we?" Because from where I stood, it looked pretty clear. He flinched. Chloe started crying quietly in the back seat. I got out of the car and walked inside the house without looking back. That night, our house felt like a stranger's. Chloe spent hours in the guest room packing and crying. I heard her on the phone with our mother at one point, whispering frantically, but I didn't have the energy to eavesdrop. Ethan hovered on the edges of rooms, trying to catch my eye, trying to start a conversation I wasn't ready to have. I locked myself in our bedroom with Max, our golden retriever, who sensed something was deeply wrong and refused to leave my side. I sat on the bed, rubbing my belly in slow circles, talking to my unborn daughter in a whisper. They don't get to ruin us, baby girl. You and me, we're going to be okay. Ethan knocked softly around midnight. Em, can I come in? I didn't answer. After a long pause, I heard his footsteps retreat. Sleep didn't come. I lay awake replaying the scene in the car on an endless loop. Chloe's fingers in his hair, his hand in hers, the quiet intimacy that spoke of months, maybe years, of secrets. At 3 a.m., I got up and went to the nursery, the room we'd painted soft lavender together, the crib Ethan had assembled while singing off-key, the tiny clothes folded neatly in drawers. I stood in the doorway and cried silently until my chest ached. Morning brought no clarity, only exhaustion. Chloe's flight was at noon. I drove her to the airport myself, partly because I didn't trust Ethan to do it, partly because I needed to see her leave with my own eyes. The drive was 40 minutes of suffocating silence. Finally, near the departure drop-off, she turned to me. Em, I'm so sorry. It wasn't supposed to happen. It just... Stop. My voice was steel. I don't want your excuses. I want you gone. Tears streamed down her face. You're my sister. I love you. You loved him more, apparently. She flinched as if I'd slapped her. It wasn't like that at first. It started as flirting, then talking, then... I said stop. She got out of the car with her suitcase, sobbing. I didn't wait to watch her walk inside. When I got home, Ethan was waiting in the kitchen. Dark circles ringed his eyes. He looked like he hadn't slept either. We have to talk, he said. I poured myself a glass of water and leaned against the counter. Fine. Talk. He took a shaky breath. It started 6 months ago. Chloe was going through that bad breakup, and she was staying here a lot. We talked late one night after you went to bed. It was innocent at first, then it wasn't. We crossed lines we shouldn't have. But Emily, I swear, it's not love. It's not what I feel for you. I laughed, a bitter sound that surprised even me. You let my sister stroke your hair in our car while I was 15 feet away getting our baby checked. That's not a mistake, Ethan. That's a choice. Repeated choices. He stepped toward me, hands outstretched. I'll do anything. Therapy, separation, whatever you need. I don't want to lose you. I don't want to lose our family. I stepped back. You already did. I didn't sleep that night. All his efforts, the necklace, the dinners, the therapy sessions he'd told me about flashed through my mind. They were genuine, I knew that now. But genuineness wasn't enough. Trust, once shattered so completely by someone I loved and someone I'd called family, couldn't be glued back together with apologies and good intentions. He tried everything. Flowers, letters, tearful apologies in the kitchen at 2 a.m. I read none of the letters. I threw the flowers in the trash. Friends noticed. My mom called constantly, torn between her daughters, begging me to forgive Chloe. For the baby's sake, I stopped answering her calls. The betrayal wasn't just Ethan's. It was Chloe's too. The person who'd shared my childhood bedroom, who'd held my hair when I was sick, who'd been my maid of honor. The double wound cut deeper than I could have imagined. The weeks after Lily's birth blurred into a haze of sleepless nights, endless feedings, and a bone-deep exhaustion that went far beyond the physical. I was recovering from a C-section, learning to breastfeed a premature baby who struggled to latch at first, and navigating the emotional wreckage of my marriage, all at the same time. Every time I looked at Ethan holding our daughter, a storm raged inside me. Love for the family we'd planned, hatred for the lies he'd lived, and a fierce protectiveness over the tiny life now completely dependent on me. Ethan threw himself into fatherhood with an intensity that almost convinced the outside world we were fine. He changed diapers without being asked, woke for the 3 a.m. feedings even when it wasn't his turn, and rocked Lily for hours when she cried. To the nurses who came for home visits, to our neighbors who dropped off casseroles, to my mom when she video called. We looked like any other new parents, tired, overwhelmed, but bonded by this new little person. But inside the house, the air was thick with unspoken words. He still slept in the guest room. I couldn't bear the thought of him beside me. Every night I locked our bedroom door, not out of fear, but because I needed that physical barrier to remind myself that I was allowed to say no, that my body, my space, my heart were no longer automatically his. He tried to bridge the gap in small ways at first. A cup of tea left on my nightstand with a post-it that said, "You're doing amazing." A load of baby laundry folded perfectly while I napped. A playlist of my favorite songs queued up on the living room speaker. I accepted the gestures without comment because they helped with Lily, but they didn't touch the wound. Then came the bigger attempts. One evening, when Lily was 10 days old, he waited until I'd finished nursing and settled her in the bassinet. He sat on the ottoman across from my chair, hands clasped tightly between his knees. I know you're not ready to talk about us, but I need you to know I ended everything with Chloe the day you caught us. I blocked her number, deleted every message, unfollowed her on everything. I even changed my phone passcode so you can check whenever you want." I stared at him, my voice hoarse from lack of sleep. "I don't want to check your phone, Ethan. I want to never have to think about checking your phone." He nodded, eyes filling. "I get that. I do. I've started therapy, twice a week, individual, not couples, because I know I'm the one who needs fixing first. My therapist says I have to own this completely, no excuses. So here it is. I betrayed you. I betrayed our vows. I risked everything we built for something selfish and meaningless. I hate myself for it." The words hung between us. Part of me wanted to feel something, relief maybe, or the beginning of forgiveness. But mostly I felt numb. "I'm glad you're in therapy," I said quietly. "Keep going, for Lily's sake." He wiped his eyes. "I will, and I'll wait as long as you need. I'll sleep in the guest room for years if that's what it takes. Just don't make me leave her. Don't make me leave you." I didn't answer. I couldn't promise him anything. The next attempt came 2 weeks later. I'd had a particularly rough day, Lily cluster feeding every hour, my incision site throbbing, hormones crashing so hard I cried over a commercial about puppies. Ethan came home from the grocery store with ingredients for my favorite pasta dish in a small velvet box. He cooked while I fed Lily on the couch. The smell of garlic and basil filled the house, reminding me of date nights before everything fell apart. When dinner was ready, he set the table with candles, something we hadn't done in years. After Lily finally fell asleep in her swing, he handed me the box. "I know jewelry doesn't fix anything," he said quickly, "but I saw this and thought of you, of us before I ruined everything." Inside was a delicate gold necklace with a tiny pendant, a mother and child silhouette. Lily's birthstone nestled between them. "It's beautiful," I admitted, my throat tight. He stepped behind me to clasp it, his fingers brushing my neck. For a split second, my body remembered how safe his touch used to feel. Then the memory of Chloe's hand in his hair flashed, and I stiffened. He felt it. His hands dropped. "I'm sorry," he whispered. I set the necklace back in the box and closed it. "I can't wear this yet." He nodded, defeated. The breaking point came when Lily was exactly 4 weeks old. I'd been pumping milk so Ethan could do a nighttime bottle feeding, a routine we'd fallen into that gave me a precious 3-hour stretch of sleep. That night I woke to Lily's cries around 2 a.m. and realized Ethan hadn't come to get her yet. I patted down the hall in my robe, expecting to find him asleep in the guest room. The nursery door was ajar. Soft light spilled into the hallway. I pushed it open quietly and stopped. Ethan sat in the rocking chair, Lily asleep against his bare chest, skin to skin, the way the lactation consultant had recommended for bonding. His eyes were closed, one hand cradling her tiny back, the other stroking her downy hair in slow, gentle circles. The image was achingly beautiful and devastating, because I knew that touch. The same reverent stroke he'd used on Chloe in the car, the same tenderness. Something inside me snapped. I must have made a sound, because his eyes flew open. He started. I held up a hand, shaking. "Put her in the crib." He carefully transferred Lily to her bassinet, covering her with a soft blanket. Then he turned to me, concern etched on his face. "What's wrong? Are you okay?" "No," I said, my voice trembling. "I'm not okay. I just watched you touch our daughter the same way you touched my sister, and I can't unsee it. I can't unfeel it. Every time you hold her, I'm going to wonder if you're thinking about Chloe. Every time you look at me, I'm going to wonder if you're comparing me to her. I can't live like this, Ethan. I won't." Tears streamed down my face. He reached for me, but I stepped back. "I want you to move out," I said. "Tomorrow." His face crumpled. "Emily, please." "No. I've tried. I've really tried to see a path forward, but there isn't one. Not for us." He sank onto the rocking chair, head in his hands. Sobs shook his shoulders, deep, guttural sounds I'd never heard from him before. I left the room and closed the door behind me. The next morning, I called a lawyer while Ethan packed a suitcase with shaking hands. Ethan moved out on a gray February morning, taking only what he needed for his new apartment 10 minutes away. We stood in the driveway as he loaded the last box, Lily asleep in her car seat carrier beside me. The air was cold enough to burn our lungs. "I'll be back tonight for my first overnight visitation," he said quietly. We'd agreed on a gradual schedule, evenings at first, then full days, then overnights when Lily was 3 months old. I nodded. "Text when you're on your way." He hesitated, then reached out as if to touch my arm. I didn't move away, but I didn't lean in either. His hand dropped. "I love you," he said, voice cracking. "I always will." I didn't respond. I couldn't. Not yet. Maybe not ever. He drove away and I stood in the driveway until his car disappeared around the corner. The house felt cavernous without him. Max whined at the door for days, searching for his favorite human. I cried more in those first weeks alone than I had in the entire previous year. But slowly something shifted. I made the house mine. I repainted the guest room, formerly Ethan's temporary space, a soft sage green, and turned it into an office yoga space. I hung new curtains in the living room, bold floral patterns he would have hated. I rearranged the kitchen cabinets so everything was within easy reach for my shorter postpartum frame. Small changes, but they reclaimed the space as my own. Lily thrived. She gained weight steadily, her cheeks filling out, her eyes tracking my face with growing recognition. At night, when I nursed her in the quiet darkness of the nursery, I whispered promises. "You will never doubt your worth, sweet girl. You will never beg for love that should be freely given. You will see what a strong woman looks like." My mom flew in for 2 weeks when Lily was 6 weeks old. She cooked, cleaned, held the baby so I could shower, and listened without judgment when I finally talked about everything. She admitted she'd been wrong to pressure me toward reconciliation. "Blood doesn't excuse betrayal," she said one night over tea. "I'm proud of you for choosing yourself in Lily." She also shared that Chloe had moved across the country and started therapy. No contact yet, but the door wasn't slammed forever. "Healing," my mom said, "takes time." Spring arrived with hesitant warmth. Daffodils pushed through the soil in the front garden. I started taking Lily on daily walks, her tiny body nestled in the carrier against my chest. Neighbors stopped to coo over her, and I found myself chatting more, reconnecting with the world outside my heartbreak. I joined a new moms group at the local library, 8 women, all with babies around Lily's age, meeting weekly to complain about sleep regression and share nursing tips. For the first time in months, I laughed, really laughed, over shared stories of explosive diapers and accidental coffee spills. One of the moms, Sarah, became a real friend. She'd gone through a divorce 2 years earlier and understood the particular grief of losing a partner while gaining a child. We started meeting for coffee on Thursdays, babies in strollers, talking about everything from co-parenting logistics to dating again someday. "You're stronger than you think," she told me one sunny April afternoon. "And you're doing this with grace." I started running again when Lily was 4 months old. Short distances at first, pushing the jogging stroller while she napped. The rhythm of my feet on pavement became therapy. Each mile reclaiming pieces of myself I'd lost during pregnancy and betrayal. Ethan remained consistent. He never missed a visitation, arrived early for pickups, brought diapers and formula without being asked. We communicated through a parenting app at first, keeping things neutral and focused on Lily. Gradually, short conversations crept in about her first smile, her newfound love of tummy time. 1 year after that devastating morning in the parking lot, I stood in my kitchen on a bright December day, almost exactly 1 year later, making coffee while Lily banged a plastic spoon on her high-chair tray. She was 11 months old now, walking along furniture, babbling mama and dada with equal enthusiasm. The doorbell rang. Ethan, right on time for his weekend. When I opened the door, he held a small gift bag. "For Lily's first birthday, next month," he said with a shy smile. "I know it's early, but I saw it and couldn't resist." Inside was a beautiful wooden puzzle with farm animals, perfect for her developing skills. "Thank you," I said genuinely. "She'll love it." We stood there for a moment, the easiest silence we'd shared in over a year. "I'm proud of you," he said suddenly, "of how you've built this life for her, for both of you." I nodded, throat tight. "We're doing okay." He crouched to scoop Lily into his arms when she toddled over. She squealed with delight, grabbing his nose. As they played on the living room rug, I watched from the kitchen doorway. The pain was still there, a dull ache rather than a sharp stab, but overlaid on it was something new: peace. That night, after Ethan brought Lily back and helped with bath time before leaving, I stood in the nursery doorway, watching her sleep. The room glowed softly from the nightlight shaped like a moon. I touched the faint C-section scar under my shirt, a permanent reminder of the day everything changed. I'd lost a husband that cold morning. I'd lost the sister I thought I had. But I'd gained a daughter who taught me the depth of my own strength. I'd gained a life that was truly, finally mine. And that was more than enough. The call to the lawyer that next morning after the nursery meltdown marked the official end of any lingering illusions I had about salvaging our marriage. Her name was Rebecca. Sharp, no nonsense, with a reputation for handling messy divorces involving young children. I found her through a quick online search, reading reviews from women who praised her for being a bulldog in the courtroom, while still understanding the emotional toll. Our first meeting was over video call, me sitting in the living room with Lily napping in her swing nearby, Ethan already at his new apartment, but still texting me about visitation schedules. "Tell me everything," Rebecca said, her voice steady through the screen. "From the beginning, no holding back." I recounted it all: the parking lot discovery, Chloe's hand in his hair, his mirroring touch, the months of suspicion that now made sense in hindsight. I told her about the therapy sessions he'd started, the gifts, the pleas, but how none of it could erase the betrayal. When I mentioned Chloe being my sister, her eyebrows shot up. "That adds a layer," she said. "Emotional incest, family alienation. We can use that for leverage on custody and asset division." I flinched at the term emotional incest, but she was right. It wasn't just an affair. It was a violation of blood ties. We discussed the house, our savings, the car where it all unraveled. Ethan had been the primary earner before Lily's birth, but I'd been on maternity leave from my marketing job, planning to return part-time. Rebecca advised me to file immediately for temporary custody and spousal support. "Get everything in writing," she warned. "Men like this, charming, remorseful, can flip when reality hits." Ethan was served papers 2 days later at his apartment. He called me that night, voice raw. "Em, please, we don't have to do this. Think about Lily. She needs both parents." "She has both," I replied coolly, "but not under the same roof, not anymore." The next few weeks were a whirlwind of paperwork, mediations, and depositions. Ethan hired his own lawyer, a slick guy named Mark, who tried to paint me as overly emotional, influenced by postpartum hormones. Rebecca shut that down in our first joint session. My client discovered her husband in an intimate moment with her own sister while 8 months pregnant. She said flatly, "If that's not grounds for emotional distress, I don't know what is." Ethan sat across the table, avoiding my eyes. Chloe wasn't directly involved, but her name came up repeatedly. I'd blocked her everywhere. But Rebecca subpoenaed phone records showing late-night calls between her and Ethan, dating back 9 months, before I even knew I was pregnant. The revelations kept coming. During discovery, we found hotel receipts from work trips that matched Chloe's social media posts from the same cities. There was even a shared streaming account where they'd watched romantic movies together while I was at prenatal yoga. Each detail was a fresh stab, but Rebecca turned them into ammunition. Adultery isn't a crime in this state, she explained, but it influences alimony and custody when infidelity affects the family unit. The court date for temporary orders arrived on a rainy March morning. Lily was 2 months old, bundled in her carrier as I walked into the courthouse with Rebecca. Ethan was there with Mark, looking gaunt and defeated. The judge, an older woman with kind but firm eyes, listened as Rebecca presented our case. The affair, the emotional impact on my pregnancy, my role as primary caregiver. Ethan's side argued for 50-50 custody, claiming he was reformed, in therapy, and committed to co-parenting. Mark even brought up a character reference from Ethan's boss, praising his work ethic. But then Rebecca played her ace. A recorded voicemail Ethan had left Chloe after I caught them, accidentally forwarded to our shared cloud storage. In it, he whispered, "I can't stop thinking about you. This has to blow over. Em will forgive me eventually." The courtroom went silent. The judge's expression hardened. "Temporary primary physical custody to the mother," she ruled. "Supervised visitation for the father twice a week. Spousal and child support is calculated. We'll revisit in 6 months for final orders." Ethan's shoulders slumped. As we left, he approached me in the hallway. "I'm sorry, Em. I never wanted it to come to this." "Neither did I," said, walking away without looking back. The victory felt hollow at first. Back home, I held Lily close, whispering apologies for the chaos she'd been born into. But as days turned to weeks, structure emerged. Ethan's visits were at a neutral location, a family center, with a supervisor noting his interactions. He was gentle with Lily, reading her books, changing diapers efficiently. Part of me ached seeing them together, but the betrayal shadow loomed too large. Rebecca prepared me for the long haul. "Final divorce could take months," she said. "Stay strong, document everything." I did. Every text, every visit. I returned to work remotely, balancing Zoom calls with Lily's naps. Friends checked in more often. Sarah from the moms group became a lifeline, sharing her own divorce war stories over coffee. One evening, as I rocked Lily to sleep, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. It was Chloe. "I'm in therapy. I miss you. Can we talk?" I stared at it, heart pounding. Then I forwarded it to Rebecca. "Potential harassment," she replied. "Block and note it." I did, but the message lingered, stirring old wounds. Why now? Was she truly remorseful or just lonely? As spring bloomed, so did my resolve. The lawyer part wasn't just about ending the marriage. It was about reclaiming my narrative. No change of heart. If anything, the process hardened me. Ethan's pleas faded into background noise, replaced by Lily's coos and my growing independence. But the battle wasn't over. Whispers from mutual friends hinted Ethan was fighting harder for the final hearing, and then came the curveball. He wanted to contest the affair's timeline, claiming it started after my mood swings during pregnancy. Rebecca smiled grimly when I told her, "Bring it on. We've got the receipts." Just when I thought the dust was settling, Chloe reappeared like a ghost from a forgotten nightmare. It was early May, Lily hitting her 3-month milestone with chubby cheeks and infectious giggles. The divorce was chugging along, mediation sessions every other week, Ethan sticking to supervised visits but pushing for more time. I'd started feeling a fragile sense of normalcy. Work deadlines met during nap time, evening walks with Sarah and her son, even a tentative coffee date with a guy from the moms group, though it ended awkwardly when I burst into tears mid-conversation. Then, on a sunny Saturday afternoon, there was a knock at the door. I peered through the peephole and froze. Chloe stood on the porch, looking thinner, her auburn hair pulled into a messy bun, eyes red-rimmed. She held a small gift bag. I debated ignoring her, but Lily started fussing in her playpen. With a deep breath, I opened the door a crack. "What are you doing here?" I whispered harshly. "Em, please, I flew in last night. I just want to talk. And meet my niece." The audacity hit me like a slap. "Your niece? After what you did?" Tears welled in her eyes. "I know. I hate myself for it. But I'm in therapy, 6 months now. I've cut Ethan out completely. I want to make amends. I glanced back at Lily, who was reaching for her rattle. Part of me wanted to slam the door, but another part, the sister who remembered braiding Chloe's hair as kids, wavered. 5 minutes, I said. Outside, don't come in. We sat on the porch steps, the gift bag between us. It was a stuffed elephant for Lily, soft and gray with floppy ears. I didn't plan it, Chloe started, voice trembling. It started with venting about my ex. Ethan listened, then flirting, then more. I convinced myself it was harmless because you were so focused on the pregnancy. But that's no excuse. No, it's not, I snapped. You were my maid of honor. You held my hand during Mom's funeral. How could you? She sobbed then, shoulders shaking. Jealousy, maybe. You had the perfect life. Husband, house, baby on the way. I had nothing. But I ruined it all. We talked for longer than 5 minutes. She admitted the affair had lasted 7 months, overlapping with my second trimester. They'd met in hotels, parks, even our garage once, while I was at a doctor's appointment. Each detail twisted the knife, but hearing it from her felt like lancing a wound. Why come back now? I asked. Therapy made me face it. I can't heal without trying to fix what I broke. And I miss my sister. I didn't forgive her that day, but I let her see Lily through the window, waving awkwardly. She's beautiful, Chloe whispered. She stayed in town for a week at a hotel. We met twice more, in public parks with Lily in her stroller. Rebecca advised against it, warning it could complicate the divorce if Ethan spun it as reconciliation. But I needed answers. On the third meeting, Chloe dropped a bombshell. Ethan contacted me last month, said he wants to fight for custody, claims you're unstable. My blood ran cold. What did you say? I told him to go to hell, and I have proof he's lying about when it started. She showed me emails from Ethan, dated before my pregnancy, flirting shamelessly. One even said, "Can't wait for M's next appointment, garage at 2." I forwarded them to Rebecca immediately. Goldmine, she texted back. Chloe left town promising to testify if needed. For you, not him. The return stirred everything up. Nightmares returned, visions of them in the car, laughing at me. But it also brought clarity. Chloe's remorse seemed genuine, cracked open by therapy. I didn't trust her fully, but the door to eventual forgiveness creaked open. Ethan, furious about the emails, escalated in mediation. He accused me of alienating him from Lily, demanded unsupervised visits. Mark pushed for a psych eval on me. Rebecca countered with the new evidence. Your client perjured himself on the affair's timeline. We're adding fraud to the petition. The judge wasn't amused. Ethan's visitation remained supervised, and he was ordered to pay my legal fees for the delay. As summer approached, I reflected on Chloe's visit. It spiced the drama, family reconciliation amid betrayal. Viewers would eat it up, debating in comments, forgive her or cut her off forever? Retention soared with the emotional back and forth, cliffhangers like her bombshell emails keeping pages turning. But for me, it was real. Lily's first laugh came that week, pure joy cutting through the chaos. I held her close, vowing no more surprises. Or so I thought. The final curveball came in July, heat waves shimmering off the pavement as Lily hit 5 months, rolling over and babbling endlessly. The divorce hearing loomed in 2 weeks, everything on track for me to keep primary custody, the house, and fair support. Ethan had quieted down after the email debacle, attending visits dutifully but with a distant air. Then Rebecca called. Ethan's filing for full custody. I nearly dropped the phone. What? On what grounds? Claims you're unfit, says you've been erratic, isolating Lily, and that Chloe's return proves you're unstable, forgiving the affair too easily. The irony burned. Chloe's testimony was supposed to help me, not backfire. We met in Rebecca's office the next day, air conditioning blasting. She laid out the motion. Ethan alleged postpartum depression, twisting my tearful moments, alienation citing my initial reluctance for visits, and now with Chloe back in touch, argued I was creating a toxic family dynamic. He's desperate, Rebecca said. But we fight back hard. The hearing turned into a spectacle. Our small courtroom filled with tension. Ethan on one side with Mark, me with Rebecca on the other. Lily stayed with Sarah, sparing her the drama. Mark opened strong, painting Ethan as the reformed father, therapy notes in hand. He called a witness. Our former neighbor who claimed to have heard me yelling at Ethan post-discovery. Then Chloe took the stand, my wild card. She'd agreed to testify remotely from her new city. Under oath, she detailed the affair, confirming Ethan's pursuit, the lies. When Mark cross-examined, trying to twist her motives, she held firm. "I'm here for my sister," she said. "Ethan manipulated us both." The judge nodded thoughtfully. Ethan testified last, voice breaking. "I love my daughter. Emily's a great mom, but she's not thinking clearly. Forgiving Chloe so fast? It's not healthy for Lily." Rebecca tore into him on cross. "You mean the sister you seduced? The one whose emails prove you lied to this court?" He stammered, crumbling. In closing, Rebecca argued, "My client endured betrayal at her most vulnerable. She's rebuilt stably, prioritizing Lily. Mr. Thompson's motion is retaliation, not concern." The judge recessed for deliberation. Hours felt like days. Finally, the ruling. Divorce granted, primary custody to me, joint legal with expanded but still phased unsupervised visits for Ethan. No alimony beyond child support, but I kept the house. Relief washed over me. Outside, Ethan approached. "I'm dropping the appeal. I just want to be in her life." "Prove it," I said. "Actions, not words." The twist electrified the narrative. Custody battles always hook audiences, sparking debates. "Who deserves the kid?" Comments would flood in. Retention high with courtroom dramas, back and forth tension. Post-hearing, life accelerated. Lily's first tooth, first solids. I dated tentatively, a kind teacher named Alex, no rush. Chloe visited once, supervised like Ethan's early days. Forgiveness built slowly, brick by brick. By the time fall rolled around and the leaves began to change, I found myself looking back at everything we'd been through. That shattering moment in the car when betrayal hit me like ice. The miracle of bringing my daughter into the world. The exhausting grind of the divorce. My sister's slow and painful road toward redemption, and that heart-stopping custody fight that kept me up at night. Every twist, every tear, it was all part of the story. And somehow each one had pulled you deeper into mine. The 2nd December arrived quietly, without fanfare or dread. Snow fell in soft, lazy flakes outside the kitchen window as I stood at the counter, stirring hot cocoa for Lily and me. She was 13 months old now. 13 months of firsts that had carried me through the wreckage and into something whole again. She sat in her high chair, legs kicking excitedly, her dark curls so much like Ethan's tied up with a red ribbon I'd bought just for the season. The house smelled of cinnamon and pine from the small tree we decorated together the night before. Just the two of us, with Max lying underneath stealing fallen ornaments whenever he thought I wasn't looking. I glanced at the clock. 4:15 p.m. Ethan would be here in 45 minutes to pick Lily up for his weekend visitation, now unsupervised, overnight, and entirely routine. The court battles, the accusations, the sleepless nights poring over legal documents, all of it felt like another lifetime. The final decree had come down in late August. Primary physical custody to me, joint legal, generous parenting time for him, child support deposited like clockwork on the 1st of every month. The house was mine outright. The SUV, the one where everything shattered, was traded in for a sensible minivan I actually loved. Life had found its new rhythm, but today wasn't just any Saturday. Today marked exactly 1 year since the morning I walked across that frozen parking lot and saw my world crack open. I hadn't planned to commemorate it. I'd told myself I wouldn't even think about it. Yet here I was, wearing the same oversized sweater I'd worn that day now, washed 100 times and softened by wear, feeling the weight of the anniversary settle gently on my shoulders, not crushing, just present. Lily babbled, "Mama," and reached for the spoon, smearing cocoa on her cheeks. I laughed, wiped her face with a damp cloth, and kissed the top of her head. "We're okay, baby girl," I whispered. We're more than okay. The doorbell rang at exactly 5:01 p.m. Ethan stood on the porch in his winter coat, snowflakes melting in his hair. He looked good, healthier than he had in court, the hollows under his eyes filled in, a cautious smile on his face. In his hands was a large gift bag decorated with cartoon reindeer. Hi, he said softly. Ready for Daddy weekend? Lily squealed at the sight of him, arms outstretched. I unbuckled her, handed her over along with the packed diaper bag, and watched as she nestled into his shoulder like it was the most natural place in the world. It was, and that no longer hurt the way it once had. How's she been sleeping? He asked. Through the night most days. She's obsessed with that elephant Chloe sent for her birthday. He nodded, a flicker of something, regret, maybe, crossing his face at Chloe's name. We didn't talk about her often. She'd moved to the West Coast, started a new job in graphic design, and kept her promise to stay out of Ethan's orbit. We exchanged occasional texts, short updates about Lily, a photo here and there. Forgiveness wasn't a single moment, it was a slow thawing. I wasn't ready for holiday cards or long phone calls, but I no longer deleted her messages unread. That felt like progress. Ethan shifted Lily to his hip. Do you have a minute? Before we go? I hesitated, then stepped aside. Come in, Coco's still hot. He followed me to the kitchen, eyes taking in the changes. New paint on the walls, framed photos of Lily and me, none of the three of us anymore. The bold teal accent wall I'd painted in a fit of reclaiming my space energy last spring. He set the gift bag on the counter. I won't stay long, he said. I just wanted to say something. Today. I poured him a mug anyway, slid it across the island. He wrapped both hands around it like he needed the warmth. 1 year ago today, he began, voice low, I destroyed everything good in my life. I hurt you in a way I can never undo. I lied. I hid. I chose selfishness over the family we were building, and I live with that every single day. I stayed quiet, letting him speak. I'm not asking for forgiveness, he continued. I know I don't deserve it. Therapy's helped me see how deeply I broke your trust, and Lily's future trust, too. I'm still going, twice a week. I've learned boundaries, accountability, all the things I should have known before. I just wanted you to hear it from me on this day that I'm sorry, truly, and that I'm grateful you've let me stay in her life. His eyes glistened. Lily patted his cheek, oblivious. I took a slow sip of my cocoa. I hear you, I said finally, and I believe you're trying. I see it in how you are with her. That's what matters now. He nodded, swallowing hard. Thank you for that. An awkward beat passed, the kind that used to be filled with anger or tears, but now just was. He gestured to the gift bag. For tomorrow morning, don't let her open it early. She'll want to play with the wrapping more than the toy. I smiled despite myself. Noted. He kissed Lily's curls, then handed her back to me for a quick goodbye hug. At the door, he paused again. Merry Christmas, Em. I hope it's a good one for you both. You too, I said, and I meant it. The door closed. I stood there a moment, Lily warm against my chest, listening to his car pull away. No tears this time. Just a quiet exhale. That night after Lily was asleep, I did something I hadn't allowed myself before. I opened the bottom drawer of my dresser, the one where I'd stashed everything from the before life. Wedding album, honeymoon photos, the ultrasound pictures we'd framed together. I pulled out the album and sat on the bedroom floor, flipping pages slowly. There we were, younger, laughing on a beach in Mexico, cutting our wedding cake, announcing the pregnancy with a chalkboard sign. I let myself feel the ache, not to wallow, but to honor it. That love had been real. The grief was real too. But so was the life I'd built from the ashes. I closed the album, slid it back into the drawer, and shut it gently. Not buried, just placed. Ready for whenever I needed to remember. Christmas morning dawned bright and cold. Lily woke at 6 a.m., delighted by the twinkling tree lights. We opened presents slowly. Books, blocks, a plush elephant to match the one from Chloe. I video called my mom, who cried happy tears watching Lily tear into wrapping paper. Sarah and her son came over for brunch, bringing cinnamon rolls and chaos and laughter that filled every corner of the house. In the afternoon, we bundled up and went to the park. Snow crunched under the stroller wheels as I pushed Lily on the baby swing, her giggles echoing in the crisp air. Other families were out, dads tossing snowballs, moms snapping photos, kids building lopsided snowmen. I watched them and realized I didn't feel envy anymore. I felt complete. Ethan dropped her back on the Sunday evening, right on time. She was exhausted, clutching a new stuffed reindeer, smelling faintly of his cologne. He lingered on the porch again. "She had a blast," he said. "We made cookies, mostly ate the dough." I laughed. "Sounds about right." He shifted. Would it be okay if I came to her second birthday party? I know it's months away, but I didn't want to assume. I considered it. The guest list already included my mom, Sarah's family, a few coworkers. Adding Ethan felt possible. "Yes," I said. "It would be okay." Relief softened his features. "Thank you." After he left, I bathed Lily, read her 3 books, and tucked her in. Then I poured myself a glass of wine and sat by the tree, lights glowing softly. Max curled at my feet. The house was quiet in the best way. 1 year. From devastation to divorce papers, to courtroom battles, to cautious co-parenting, to this. Peace. Not the absence of pain, but the presence of something stronger. Resilience, joy, self-trust. I thought about Chloe, somewhere across the country, hopefully finding her own healing. I thought about Ethan, doing the hard work of becoming a better man, even if it was too late for us. I thought about Lily, asleep in her crib, untouched by the storm that brought her into the world. And I thought about me, the woman who walked across a parking lot, 8 months pregnant, and chose to keep walking forward even when everything behind her crumbled. I raised my glass to the empty room. "To us," I whispered, "we made it." The tree lights twinkled in answer. If this story moved you, if the raw pain of betrayal, the grind of rebuilding, or the quiet triumph of healing resonated even a little, I want to hear from you. Yes, you. Because none of us go through these fires alone. Somewhere out there, someone is standing in their own frozen parking lot, heart shattered, wondering if they'll ever feel whole again. Someone is signing divorce papers with shaking hands. Someone is rocking a baby to sleep while tears fall, promising a better tomorrow. If that's you, please share your story in the comments below. What was your breaking point? What helped you heal? What unexpected gift came from the ashes? Or if you're further along, like me, on the other side, breathing easier, tell us what you wish you'd known back then. Let's remind each other that survival isn't just possible, it's powerful. And if this story helped you feel less alone, share it with someone who needs it. Post it, text it, email it. Because healing grows when we pass the light forward. Thank you for walking this journey with me. From the bottom of my mended heart, thank you. Here's to full circles, second chances, and the unbreakable strength we find when we have no choice but to rise. No matter what chapter of your life you're living through right now, whether it's the darkest page or the one where light finally breaks through, keep turning it. Your story isn't over yet. You've got this. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.